Alright, ladies and gents, welcome back to another AutoCAD 2D drawing. Okay, we're also going to do the 3D part afterwards, but we're going to do the orthographic views first. Alright, here we go. We are drawing my 3D forward drawing. Alright, as I'm looking at this, I'm always wondering what is the width, what is the height of each view. Okay, so we've got, 2.5 here for the height of the front view, 4.5 is the width. That means that those two numbers are going to be the same in other views. So if the width of this one is 4.5, the width of the top is going to be 4.5. Okay, so pay no attention to the 2 3/4 right now. From one side all the way to the other should be 4.5. The height, 2.5 and 2.5. Okay, so height of the front is 2.5. It has to be the same in the right side. There is a drill hole here. That drill hole goes through the entire object. You can tell that because of the hidden lines and the center line. And also you can see it in the right view here, center line going down the middle and two hidden lines going all the way across. In the front view here we see something that looks like two blocks that are stacked, but it's a little bit confusing, so you've got to look in other views to see what's really going on. Over here I can see that it goes up about 1/4 inch because the entire thing is a 1/2 inch tall, and I can see that this part is 1/4, so the other part has to be 1/4 because 1/4 plus 1/4 is 1/2. But this is going to go up about 1/4, then it's going to have a chamfer on it, and then it's going to go across by 1/2, and I know that because over here we've got a 1/2 measurement, right? And then it's going to chamfer down over 1/4, and then it's going to come down another 1/4, okay? Let's see, what else is important here? From this part to the very end of the object, 2 3/4, make sure that your views line up. My students, some of you guys are missing this. If this is the front view, the very left has to line up with the very left of the top, and the very right has to line up with the very right of the top. Otherwise it doesn't make sense, and you're not able to say, okay, here's the drill hole, and this, if I follow this up, is exactly where the center is. There's no way of knowing if that's correct or not if the views are not lined up. Top should line up with the top of the right. Bottom of the front should line up with the bottom of the right. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to draw the front view first. I'm going to be doing the 3D part pretty much at the same time. Not the same time, but I'm going to set it up for it. So I'm going to be changing this to front just like I did in the last drawing. And I'm going to draw, let's see, where is it? I'm going to draw this front view first. Okay, so it's 4.5 by 2.5. So you can box that out at first if you'd like. So I'm going to go 4.5, 2.5. Now I don't know how far across here, so I'm just going to go like this. Whoops. And I don't know how high yet because I haven't looked, so I'll go like that. Looking back at the drawing, you can see that this shelf here to this part is going to be 3/4 inch. So instead of just drawing that randomly, it's probably smarter to just draw a 3/4 inch line. What I really meant to do was, I don't know how far this way unless I look at here. Okay, so that's how far that's going to go before it goes up, and then the rest of that, where that meets the top line, is going to be where this part is built. Okay, alright, so let's go 2 3/4, and then we're going to go up. That gives us a spot to trim off, and our curved end is going to be here. Now the curved end has two circles. Okay, one is the outside curve, the other one is the drill hole. We got to find the center first. Anytime you see a plus, that means that there's going to be circles drawn at that center. So we've got a radius 1/2 is the small one, a radius 7/8 is the big one, but it doesn't say how far down to get to that plus unless we do one of two things. We either do 2.5 minus 1 5/8, or we could do an offset of the bottom line up 1 5/8. Or you can say, okay, this is a radius 7/8, which means that from the center of the circle out is 7/8 inch. So from here to here, that would also be true, 7/8. So that's the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to do an offset of 7/8. If you're in the web app, you're going to click that line first, move down, and then type your distance. If you're in the software, you're going to type the distance first and hit enter, and then grab the line, and which way you want to go would be down. Okay, so now we have the center of those two circles. So there was a diameter in the middle. I believe it was 1/2. Let's just double check. That looks too small. It was radius 1/2, sorry. So let's get rid of that. Radius at the midpoint, 1/2. Okay, the other one was a radius at the same center of 7/8. Now I can just go like this and click here, or I can do 7/8, same thing. The top line I don't need. There's not even any trimming on that. You just erase it. And then these side lines are going to get trimmed. I don't need this yet. I'm going to get rid of this and do my center lines afterwards, just so it doesn't get confusing. And I'm going to trim the bottom half of this circle. So we're already at this point here. We need to figure out what this angle here is, and then we got to build that little block that's up here. Okay, so here we go. That is a 45-degree angle, and we don't know the distance, but we don't need to know it, because if I put a line here and I go, well, so here's the thing. If I go angle 45 and hit enter, it's actually going to travel this way, and you could bring it back, but we want to go the other way, which means that a straight up line would be 90. What's 90 plus 45 would be 135. So I want to do angle 135, enter. And then it's not going to give you an intersection here, so don't let it accidentally snap to this midpoint or to that end point. Just draw it a little bit too far and then trim the end off. And we can trim this and we can trim that. That also gives us our start point for the next piece, which is going to be right here. Like I said, that piece is a 1/2 inch by a 1/2 inch, and then it's split down the middle in the front view, so we don't need to quite understand it yet. 1/2, 1/2, and 1/2 down, and then an offset of 1/4, or a midpoint to midpoint line, it doesn't matter, and you get something like this. The front view is now done. Now, if I do an offset here, I don't have a line up here anymore to measure my 1 inch. So if I know the height of this from the bottom left corner to the top of that 2.5, I could just do an offset off of this line 3.5, or I could put the line back there by going 2.5 and then going 1. All right, so I'm just going to do 3.5 because I think everyone would understand that. 3.5, take it from the bottom and go up. Okay, now it's good to do that because the ends are already lined up here, so I don't have to draw anything up from there. And this end is already lined up from there, so I don't have to draw anything there either. So looking at the top view now, it's 2 3/4 deep. So I'll go on this spot right here. I'll go 2 3/4 or 2.75, same thing. I'll go, what was this number again? 2.5, I think it was 4.5. Yep, and then back down. Okay, so now you've got the outside box of the top view. I really like to box them all out before I do anything else. So what I'm going to do here is I'll just go like this. I could draw this 2.5, 2.5, or I could come over from the top and slide without clicking, and then click that intersection, okay? And that's going to give me the height of that right view, but I still have to do my offset of 1. All right, something like that. So now we can get rid of this line. The depth here is the same as the depth here. Remember that if I put a line here and I go 45 degrees, those lines would flip over that 45, and you can do it that way, or you can just remember the dimensions. There's only length, width, and height. So how long is it, how tall is it, how deep is it, right? So we got what was that? Sorry, I keep forgetting my numbers. 2 3/4. Offset 2.75. All right, I'm going to connect the top and bottom, and then we're all boxed out. All right, let's go back to the top view. The top view has a line from the right side at 2 3/4. Offset 2.75, something like that. It's got the funny shape, okay, and it's got the angle. So let's do the angle first. The angle, let's think about this. Well, we could just bring it up from the bottom, right? So if we already have this here, can't we just slide and go like this? Now that's our angle. This is a slant here, but it's drawn flat because we're doing a 2D view. So you can't tell that it's a slant, but if you go down to the front, you say, okay, that's a slant. All right. We know that this piece here is a 1/2 inch, so we're going to go 1/2 off of this line. We know that that piece doesn't travel the whole way. It's centered in the middle, and it's this top part here is a 1/2, and this is a 1/4 slant and a 1/4 slant. So what I would do is draw a line down the middle. 1/2 of a 1/2 is a 1/4. So if I go 1/4 down, 1/4 up, and get rid of the middle one, that one was a dummy line. And then I have an offset of, now let's see, can we just do an offset of a 1/4 like that? Yes, we can, because the slant itself is longer than a 1/4 because it's a slant, the actual chamfer, but the distance that it travels is over a 1/4 of an inch. So offset 1/4, 1/4 from here down, 1/4 from there up, and trim and trim. Oop, I actually did not mean to trim that other line. It should just be that and that. Alright, because we need to keep this line here for this slant, right? So the top view is done, minus the hidden lines and center lines. Going over to the right, same idea. This is a hard line here. It's anytime it changes directions, that's what's going to give you a hard line. So this is going slant up. So that means this point right here is going to give me a line right there. Trim. This one, same thing, is going to give me a top line. Now, it's not going to travel the whole distance. It's going to look like this. So we'll get to that in a second. The top we already have. The center is going to come across for a center line. We're going to describe this circle in a second. The left and right will go up as hidden lines. The top and bottom will go across as hidden lines. Okay? Hidden lines show something that is happening back there that you can't quite see from that view. It's describing, hey, there's a drill hole. It goes all the way through, and by seeing the hidden lines go from front to back, you know it goes all the way through. If by some chance it stopped, like that, and these were hidden lines, then that would tell you that the drill hole does not go all the way through. But it does, so I'm going to extend these. And I'll also draw the middle one since we're talking about it. By the way, you guys can see those bottom lines. I got to get rid of those. Alright, so we'll change those in a second. Going to the right now, we got to finish this part. Same thing I did in this top view. I'm going to go midpoint to midpoint. I'm going to go offset 1/2. Sorry, offset 1/4. You got to take half of the number, okay, because it's split over the middle. So 1/4, 1/4 would give you 1/2, and that's actually the top part of that, which means we can go like this. These two are dummy lines, but you're going to leave them there for a second because we need their positions, okay? If we go another 1/4, that's going to give us the bottom left position of this shape. And that will tell you that, let's see, let's actually just do a chamfer here. Our chamfer is going to be a 1/4 distance. So as long as I have this right in my head, chamfer distance 1/4, 1/4 for distance 1 and distance 2. Should be able to go like that. Spacebar brings me back in to that. And then these were my dummy lines. So that part's done. Next thing, the top is going to come across for a hidden line. The bottom of the circle is going to come across for another hidden line. Trim those. Don't let this accidentally get left there because we don't want another line through there, and we don't want that one. Okay, now this one is going through this piece, but it's not affecting it. It's just saying that this is in front, it's closest to us, and this part is in back, and it's going to be dotted in a second when we change the lines. From here going across, that's going to be the center line. I like to extend the center lines by 1/4 of an inch. So if I go 1/4 down, 1/4 up, 1/4 left, 1/4 right, I can extend these past the actual view. Those were dummy lines just to get that position, and you get something like that. We also need to put center lines on the front view. So if I go from here down, I'm going to want to extend this 1/4 of an inch past this circle. So if I do an offset of 1/4, I can go off a curve like that and extend. I can also do offset 1/4 off of this circle. Just be careful because you don't want to leave that circle there. It's a dummy circle. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. So now it's extended by 1/4 here. And actually, technically, if this circle was full, so let me put that circle back for a second. It should actually extend 1/4 of an inch. If it's going 1/4 of an inch past this circle, it should go 1/4 of an inch past this phantom circle where you can't see it anymore. So let me change my mind on that, and we're going to go 1/4 of an inch outside of this circle again, and just extend that to there, and then get rid of this. I have two circles right now. I have a full circle and I have my half circle, so I'm just going to erase the full one, and you get something like that. That makes more sense. Okay, that's the way you're supposed to do it. Now this, I can go from left to right. I could have left that other circle here, but I guess I wasn't thinking at the time. 1/4, like so. And now we have our center lines done. Okay, the last thing to do is go into your line types. If they're not loaded yet, go to other, and you're going to go to load, and you're going to find the, now we normally do the center X, sorry, the center 2, which is the 0.5x, but we're going to see what that looks like. We may need to change that or change the scale, because in the last drawing we were having a little bit of an issue seeing the center lines. Okay, so we'll load center 2, we'll load hidden 2 for now. Hit OK. That's a hidden, that's a hidden. Hidden, hidden. Go up here, change the line type to hidden. Those look pretty good to me. Okay. Center lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oop, not continuous. Center. And those look fine to me too. I wouldn't change anything. Okay. Now let me just make sure that my LT scale, yes, it's 1. Okay, so you guys are good. It's not going to look any different on your screen than it does on mine. Okay. So that's it. That's it for the views. If you're one of my students, you're going to put dimensions on these. I want to know how wide, how tall. I want to know how big this little shelf is here. How wide, how tall, what are the size of these circles? How tall, how wide, right? And just tell me what I need to know on this dimension or on this drawing, just so I could recreate it if I needed to off of your plan. Okay. You're also going to put it inside a title block. Too many people forgetting to do that. Bring your title block into this, or bring this into your title block, or open your title block, do a save as, and then draw this inside of it. That's probably the easiest way. Okay. So now I'm going to do the 3D model. My students, you're not doing the 3D model yet, but you're watching the 3D model part, just so that we can learn how to do it, because we're not quite ready to do 3D yet with the web app, but we'll get on the software soon. Okay. So I'm actually going to delete this part, and the reason is that if I extend this, or if I extrude this all the way back, it's going to make it seem like it's a full, let's go like this. It's going to make it seem like it goes from front to back, but it doesn't. It's actually just in the middle here, right? So I'm going to bring my view back, erase this stuff, and we'll go with this part for now. This is the main part of the model. So if I now switch back to top, I'm looking down at that shape, right? And you're going to hit the bottom right corner. That gives you your 3D view. I need to join. When you go to join things, you do not join another shape inside. It has to just be the outside shape, or the shape of whatever the other 3D model is that you're creating. If I were to try to join this, it's going to say one object discarded, because it's not touching the other stuff. It has to be touching and in line, making a polyline. Okay. Now it's okay if you select all this stuff and type join, but you will see that little error down there where it says one object discarded. Okay. It still works. I get one here, but this will stay separate no matter what you do. The depth was 2.75, so I'm actually going to change my tools first. Go down to the gear, go to 3D Basics. We're going to take both of these and extrude them negative 2.75. Now it doesn't quite matter if you go forward or backward, because these go all the way. It would matter if this was only part of the way through the model, right? But it does go all the way through, so it doesn't matter. All right. The next part, you could go in here and start building this next part by going half and coming back a quarter and slanting and chamfering and all that. But I think it's easier when you notice a block that's on top of another block to just make that separately. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use the rectangle tool. I think that this is a good time to use this and use dimensions. Okay, and my dimensions are going to be, it's going to be 1 inch by a ½ inch. I think I got that right, although I did them backwards, sorry. Let's do that again. So dimensions, it's going to be half first, then 1. Okay. Now it'll ask you which way do you want to flip it. That doesn't really matter. You can click it down anywhere. I'm going to go right ahead and extrude this up by a ½ inch. Oop, I don't think it's selected yet. There we go. Enter. 1/2. And then I can do, now don't be confused here, this is a back line, this is a line that's closer to you. So if I revolve this a little bit, or I should say orbit, revolve is actually a 3D tool, you can then do your chamfer edge, because this is a 3D model now, there are no lines here, and you're going to do distance, and you go 1/4, 1/4. Chamfer edge is the 3D version of chamfer. You get something like that, and you get something like that, and hit enter twice. That is the second model. Very easy now. Midpoint, I'm using the move tool, and I'm moving it to the midpoint. All right. Last two things. You are going to union these two together. That's going to make them one 3D model. So if I were to click on this and hit delete, you'll see that that's there. The other thing is you have to do a subtract from the main model, enter this drill hole, enter. It looks the same on 2D wireframe, but if I change this to conceptual, you'll see that now the drill hole goes all the way through. I'm looking at the rest of the model. I like it. Okay, I'm orbiting, and I decide I like it. I still have to go back to the top and the bottom right corner to get that set up the way I want. If you're one of my students, again, you're not doing this 3D model just yet, but if you were, you would do a zoom extents here. You would go to conceptual, and you would actually change that to hidden, and this is the version that we would print out. Okay, we'd also put line weights on it. So let's go back to 2D basics, or drafting and annotation. I would select this, I'd go up here, and I would do 0.7, but we're not going to see it yet because we don't have the toggle on. So we got to go back down here and click on that. That turns the toggle on. All right. So that was it. This is 3D4. We did the 2D views, orthographic views, and we did the 3D model. And now you guys are wizards. All right. I appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you in the next one. Later.